This is On the Sidelines with Box 13.
All right, welcome into another episode of the On the Sidelines podcast. I'm your host, Ethan McReynolds, here as always with my partner in crime, D-Jack, Dante Jackson.
Hello.
D-Jack, what a time to be a Seattle sports fan.
Yes.
I tweeted it out over the weekend. You've got the Mariners with their trade deadline acquisitions. You've got the Sounders absolutely thrashing teams from Liga MX, a league that's supposed to be much better than the American League and the MLS. 7-0 against Cruz Azul. You also beat Santos. You're at the top of the League's Cup standings. You've got Seahawks preseason starting on Thursday. Pete Carroll coming back into the vibes really could not be higher. We're talking about all of it. We got Jackson Feltz from Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM on the Sounders pre and post match show to give us his insight on an exciting time for the Sounders. But the Mariners,
hold up, this just
please
in.
go.
This
yes.
just in. The Sounders just scored another goal.
I believe it. It's been absolutely insane. But the Mariners.
Yes.
I mean, out of all the buyers, Jeff Passan of ESPN, MLB Insider, saying that the Mariners of all the buyers were the winners of the trade deadline. They go out, we know. We talked about it. Josh Naylor. They go out and get Caleb Ferguson. And then they go out and make the splash move to get the guy that everybody wanted to get, that you screamed for just a week ago.
Right here on the sideline.
Eugenio Suarez.
Yes.
D-Jack, how pumped are you they got
You
Geno?
know what? I'm so pumped, but now it has to pay off.
Yes.
Now the pressure is on. Now the front office, for once in this organization's history, went out and did what they were supposed to do. They went out and did what the vocal fans wanted them to do. Now the pressure goes to Dan Wilson and the players. They have to finish now. And they started off well against the Texas Rangers, taking it 3 out of 4. All of those were close games, mind you. Texas, make no mistake, Texas is on Seattle's heels right now. So Seattle has to play almost perfect baseball from this point throughout to make it where they want to go, and that's the playoffs.
Well, and you mentioned the Rangers series. Going into that series, right off the heels of the trade deadline, the Rangers were tied with the Mariners for that final wild card spot and in the division, 5 games back of the Astros. That was the biggest series of the season to date.
Yes.
And you go out and you win 3 of 4. Including on Sunday against Jacob deGrom of all guys, a game that you had to win. You go out and get it done. How much confidence does that give you for this team just going forward? They were able to actually go out and win a series when the entire city was looking at them.
It gives me great confidence, and you know where the confidence comes from? The fact that Suarez and the meat of that order actually didn't produce in this last series against the Rangers. You know, they were something like 4 for 70 or some crazy number where they didn't produce. But the lineup is so long that those others, JP showed up, Julio showed up. So that's why you go and get the players, because when a Suarez, when a Cal is slumping, you still have those premium players like a Randy and Julio and JP coming on. That's why you go and get those players. So my confidence is sky high for the Mariners right now. I'm expecting a championship.
Well, I was on Washington Sports Wrap on Thursday. I ended the show. I was like, let's go win a World Series. Because that's the energy that we need right now.
Yes.
And Jerry Dipoto, you've been talking about it. Jerry said it. He said, I wanted to give this group a chance to win a World Series.
That's it right
when
there.
When have we ever heard Jerry Dipoto say the W word? Ever. The C, championship, World Series. He's speaking it into existence, which is exactly what you wanted to hear.
I've been banging the table for the last 5 episodes, speaking into existence, Jerry. I've never heard Mariners and championship in the same sentence. Well, Jerry went and said, hold my beer, and went and did it, So hats off to you, Jerry. Great job. I screamed from the top of the Space Needle when you're not doing your job. So I'm going to tell you, good job right now. Great job getting the players in. Now we got to produce. We got to finish.
Well, and it's nice for Jerry Dipoto, getting rid of Eugenio Suarez in the way that they did. I mean, that objectively an awful trade, and he said that was one of his biggest mistakes as a general manager, as an executive. And being able to eat your pride in that, moment to go out and make it happen, to bring him back for a return. You given up a lot more than you got back in that trade for Geno.
Yes.
And eating Jerry's pride, that's not really something that we've seen him do. So the fact that he was willing to go out and make it happen, to go all in like we talked about, and then also not having to give up nearly as much as we were talking about they might be having to get up. It was rumored that Geno was going to command 2 top 100 prospects. Harry Ford, maybe a pitcher as well thrown in there, Sloan or Gerangelo Saincha. You get him for Tyler Locklear. And don't get me, Tyler Locklear, he just hit a bomb the other day for the D-backs. He's going to be a solid major leaguer. And, we've been talking about it. He's been ripping up the minor leagues in AAA. But, you thought you were going to have to give up. You have every single one of your top 100 potential guys, the talent, still in your farm system, ready to go for in the offseason if you need to make a trade, or for next year to make a trade.
Yes.
I think it was a masterful job done by Jerry Dipoto. And now you take a look at this lineup, just 1 through 9 weapons. Cole Young is your biggest hole. He just hit a ball 470 feet at T-Mobile Park.
The longest home run of the year.
J.P. Crawford, your 8-hole, is just hit a walk-off bomb against the Rangers, and Dom Canzone's one of your hottest hitters, which I feel like last year or 2 years ago, he'd be hitting the 5 holes. He's hitting 7. He's at the bottom third of your lineup. I just think it's crazy what Jerry's able to do with this roster.
And you know what? Great job by this organization. And you stole my words, masterful. Just a master stroke on how they handled this roster. Now, we all wanted the moves in the preseason. But, they said, hey, give this team a chance. Mm-hmm. And when they realized that this team needed a bump and needed a little bit more, they went out and did it finally. I just feel like it gives the fans the confidence. And I want the fans right now to stay vocal, because I think they heard you, fans. I think they heard you saying, hey, we want a championship. Finally, you're demanding it, and the Mariners are listening. They went out and did it. Now it's up to Dan Wilson and those players to finish the deal.
Well, and luckily the Astros are in sort of a rut right now.
Hopefully it stay that way.
Yeah, absolutely. They've the Mariners are just
the Trastros.
The Trastros just 3 games back of those trash cans up at the top of the AL West. You think they can catch the Astros?
I think they will catch the Astros, definitely. I saw Kirby. He's back. Wu has been solid. Logan Gilbert, he's rounding into shape. This pitching staff is still the key now. Pitching is still the strength of this team. So they must round into form, and I feel like it's happening. And with the lineup, this is a World Series team.
Yeah, especially if this rotation can get into form. George Kirby has been incredible his last 4 or 5 starts. You just need to see Logan Gilbert do it a little bit more consistently, and Bryce Miller. Yeah, I share that same thought, and Bryce Miller potentially coming back, starting a rehab assignment in Tacoma. So
and not only Bryce Miller, you get the outfielder coming back, Robles.
Victor Robles.
Robles is working his way back. I see him taking batting practice, so they expecting him to be back maybe in September, and that'll be a nice little jolt for the lineup also. You're talking about an athlete, the least he can do is run, so run the base paths and give you a good glove in the outfield. So Robles is working his way back. This team is looking up. I like the makeup of this team. And while Cal right now is slumping, let's call it what it is, I think this lineup gives him a chance to work through that, and he will be back. He will be back to the Cal we've seen for the rest of the season, for the beginning of this season. He will be back.
Well, and who else benefits from a longer lineup? Julio Rodriguez, not having all of that pressure on him. Yeah, that we've talked about. He over the weekend became the first player in not Mariners history, Major League history, to start his career with 4 20-20 seasons, 20 bombs, 20 stolen bases. I hate to we talk about Julio a lot. Yes. I feel like the entire fan base does as well. He's a polarizing figure in this fan base. I just don't get it. 4 straight seasons, 2020, and we're complaining that he's not Ronald Acuna. How spoiled do we have to be? And we're not even spoiled. Yeah, we wanted any sort of talent that was even close to Julio, that was homegrown. We signed him out of the Dominican Republic, and he commits to stay here for a decade. And we're complaining about the production that. Now, don't get me wrong. He has fallen short of the lofty expectations that the fan base, the front office, everyone, the marketing team put on him, put him into the spotlight. He hasn't complained once. He hasn't showed any sign of being toxic to anybody in the clubhouse. That the pressure can come. He's not lashing out at anyone because he's not performed to those expectations that, by the way, are in his contract. That, by the way, he's losing out on millions of dollars if he does not live up to those superstar expectations, the Silver Sluggers, the MVP awards. Those are all incentives in his contract. Do you think You Mariner fans want him to be at that level. Who do you think also wants to even more? Julio Rodriguez, the guy that literally bet tens, hundreds of millions of dollars on himself to perform that way, and he hasn't. But still, here we are, sitting 24 years old. He's been an all-star 3 out of his 4 seasons. He has a top 3 MVP finish in his back pocket. He's 24 years old.
Yes.
Getting upset at that kind of production, I just don't get it.
Yes, let me twist it a little bit, because I think this is a credit to Julio's success. The expectations he set as a young player, now he can't live up to his own expectations. But when you go back and you look at the numbers, you realize this guy is still an all-star player. He's still a superstar. He's that guy that we projected him to be. Now, he hasn't been as consistent over the seasons, for sure. But Julio is a great player. And I'm with you right now. You know, I was one of them ones that say, hey, he need to be a little bit more consistent. I was kind of critical. But when you take a step back, this is a great player, and we are lucky, fortunate to have him here in Seattle, and hopefully he'll stay here for the rest of his career.
Well, the Mariners it's Ichiro weekend starting out for the Mariners, so hopefully that gives the team some good juju. They've got Ichiro's jersey retirement coming up this weekend. They start a 3-game set with the White Sox. They also get the Rays, 2 teams under 500. The Mariners have played really well at home, so you're hoping that they can take advantage.
And you know what? Let me add this, because they talk about the 2 worst teams coming in right now, the White Sox and I forget who else. But you cannot take anybody for granted if you're the Mariners. You're not that good of a team to expect to come in and just beat the White Sox. I mean, they're professionals also, and they've humbled you before. So the Mariners need to lock in and make sure they win these next 2 series. I would love to see them go on a 15-game run like I've seen some of them other teams. That's what this team needs to catch the Astros and create some separation with the Rangers, because the Rangers, although the Mariners won that series, the Rangers showed me something. Every game was close. You had to win on a walk-off. You had to win in extra innings. You know, so the Rangers are right there. We need to create some separation, so the Mariners need to make sure they lock in on these next 2 series and win them.
Well, and the Mariners are really good against teams over 500. I believe the 2nd best record in baseball. Not very good against teams under 500.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
That bodes well for the playoffs when you're taking on these top teams. But you got to take care of the series that you should be taking care of.
And you got to get there first.
Yep, absolutely. And one point that I wanted to make that I totally forgot about, you mentioned the walk-off from JP. I mean, you've got new players coming into this clubhouse. Josh Naylor, Caleb Ferguson, Eugenio Suarez already, is accustomed with the clubhouse and everything. But Naylor and Ferguson, totally outsiders coming in, don't really know anyone, not many prior connections. What better way to get them ingratiated into this fan base and get them feeling comfortable in that clubhouse with just, 25 brand new guys that they got to meet than a walk-off win?
Yes.
I mean, just absolutely incredible. The vibes just couldn't. You can look at the standings all you want and all the numbers, but the vibes. Can we get a vibe check here on the sidelines?
Yes.
Just peak right now for the Seattle Mariners.
I was actually laying back watching that game. And when JP hit it, it was a no-doubter. Oh. And that place erupted. T-Mobile is electric when the Mariners are winning. Yep. It's no better fans.
No better.
Having the 12 showed you. Now the Mariners fans, I mean, you're talking about a franchise that never made it to the World Series. Barely, 2 playoff appearances in the last 30 years or 25 years, I believe. But the fans keep showing up. That's all you got to do is give us a winner. And that place will be electric. The best place in Major League Baseball, if you ask me, as far as the fans and the atmosphere and the experience, is right there in T-Mobile, right here in Seattle.
Yep. Well, and so the same night, the Mariners, it was the night after they traded for Geno. They win the first game of the Rangers series with Geno in a Mariners uniform. Over across the street at Lumen Field, there were some fireworks with the Sounders taking on Cruz Azul. None better than right here, Pedro de la Vega.
Oh, look at the pass.
Yeah, oh, man, just an absolute dot from Alex
Rodon.
First time. I mean, just the audacity to even attempt to shoot that ball without taking a touch from Pedro de la Vega. The Sounders win 7-0. Pedro de la Vega, I think that's a Puskas contender. That's goal of the year internationally. Pedro de la Vega take a bow. I mean, I don't have any words.
Yeah.
That is one of the best goals I have ever seen in my entire life.
And it happened right here. And, let's not forget.
Let's watch it again.
Yeah.
Let's just watch it again.
Look at the assist, though. I want to give Rodin some credit also. And with the first touch, and he puts it right there on the post, in the net. You can't ask for anything more. And the fact that it was Pedro. Because, he's been much maligned all season long. He's finally in a spot where it looks like he's catching his stride. And if that guy with that kind of pedigree, that kind of creativity, that kind of power behind his shots gets hot, he can take the Sounders all the way to the MLS Cup. And the League's Cup.
Yeah, well, and 4 goals in his, or let's see, 4 goals in his last 4 matches. He had 2 against Cruz Azul. The first one, which probably would have made headlines if he didn't do that.
I don't even know the first one.
Was a great goal in its own right. A little layoff from Jesus Ferreira in the box, and Pedro just blasts it top right corner.
The power he's shown is just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. So it begs the question. I thought for a while that Obafemi Martin's goal over the against San Jose Earthquakes right here, Mako Papa playing him behind, chipping it over the keeper from an impossible angle. I thought that was the best goal in Sounders history. D-Jack, what do you think? That one, or do you prefer Pedro?
I can't pick. Usually I pick one side or the other. I don't waffle. The degree of difficulty right there from Martin, and look at the look on the goalkeeper. I mean, he's like, what? What happened? He just could not believe it. The angle, the momentum, and the chip it over his head, and the goalie is like, what happened there? So, I'm going to go with Pedro simply because of the distance and the power. Also, Rodin helped with that assist. To go across the field like that, and one touch right there with the power, I'm going to give it to Pedro right now simply because of the distance. Look how far he is away from the goal. Martin, impossible angle, the chip shot. The goalie didn't help with the look on his face, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to Pedro.
I was so torn the entire weekend. I've been thinking Obafemi Martin's goal. And the more I watch Pedro's, the more that my opinion turns. It's hard to beat that. I legitimately think that goal should be dominated for the Puskás Award.
Well, if you're going to give that the goal of the year, what do you give Rodin? You got to give him the assist of the year.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. I mean, that is an absolute seed from Alex Roldan. Super impressive stuff. We spoke to Jackson Feltz from 93.3 Sports Radio, KJR FM. He does the Sounders pre- and post-match show. We asked him which goal he thought was more impressive. He put a poll up on social media that everyone's been voting off of. Here's that full conversation from Jackson. All right, we're back here on the Sidelines, now joined by our special guest for today, none other than Jackson Feltz from 93.3 Sports Radio, KJR FM. You've heard him on the airwaves doing the Sounders pre-match and post-match shows. Jackson, what a time to be a Sounders fan, to be a Seattle sports fan in general. We've been talking Mariners, but specifically with the Sounders in this League's Cup. 8 matches unbeaten since Club World Cup, and then you've got that 7-0 thrashing against Cruz Azul. What are the Sounders doing differently right now where they've sort of just found their form and they're just firing on all cylinders?
Ethan, they're clicking offensively. I think you see it in a lot of different players. Pedro de la Vega is certainly, looking like the guy that we all thought he could be when they first brought him in here at the start of last year. I think you're getting a lot of players' cohesion working. I mean, Jesus Ferreira has really been this great progression over the course of the year, where the question has been, is Jesus Ferreira going to look like the guy he was at FC Dallas? And maybe here it isn't coming with the goals he scored there, but it's coming, I think, with the cohesion and the assists. Albert Rusnak is facilitating to all parties. And even without Jordan Morris, I think you're getting a good Danny Mazowski in place. So offensively, everything is clicking. Defensively, nothing's changed. I think you're still getting the healthy Jackson Reagan, the healthy Yeimar Gomez Andrade. Nuhu, we just talked to Brian Schmetzer. Nuhu is looking like a better player since he returned from his suspension. I see it. He sees it. So you're kind of getting every player across the board playing their best soccer of the season right now. And when you get that, that's what culminates in a 7-goal half.
I think the key to that is Pedro. Everybody wants to know about Pedro, and D-Jack just loved the stars. What would you attribute his rise or, this trending upward to? What would you attribute it to?
DJ, I think the biggest thing is the fact that it's on the left wing. I mean, the idea was he's going to be this right winger and right wing. We even saw him, one of his first appearances, we saw him was in the middle of those wingers, playing kind of the 10. But now he's shifted out to the left, and that's unlocked a different part of his game. And I think that's one of the things where for Pedro de la Vega, it's an entirely different position where he's able to, get on his right foot, cut in, and take these shots from distance. We've seen it now a couple times, and it's more confident Pedro. He's more confident dribbling at defenders where he can get off on, get into that prime assist zone by going left still or cutting in and going right. There's a lot of different options for Pedro de la Vega. So I think the biggest key is just that position change and getting him on that side.
Well, we've been talking about the goal that he scored against Cruz Azul. Just the audacity to even attempt that. But I mean, first of all, I been interacting with you on X over what the best Sounders goal of all time is. A lot of people think that it is Pedro. Would you say that it's the best Sounders goal of all time? And what does it say about Pedro for him to have the confidence to attempt that?
Yeah, Ethan, I'm glad you brought that up because I've had this poll going since Sunday. I think I put it up Sunday. Maybe it was like Saturday. Anyway, regardless, I put this poll up just on a form that basically just included 15. I took suggestions from people on X, and I took suggestions from people on Blue Sky. Give me your best Sounders goal. And I got 15 suggestions. So I put them all on this questionnaire. It's on my social media pages. And I said, all right, you watch the goals. Here's the links to watch them. You watch and you vote for your favorite. And 44% of people, and we have hundreds of votes in, 44% of people say it's Pedro's.
Wow.
I have, and I think I'm still in the camp of right now what is the fourth most voted on thing, and that's Obafemi Martins against San Jose. But above that, you have Jimmy Traore against Tigres. You have Raul Ruidiaz against Atlanta, and then of course Pedro. So I mean, watching all the goals again, there's is objectivity and subjectivity. Objectively, I think that what Pedro de la Vega did, and you have to also factor in two things on that goal. You have to factor in the assist from Alex Roldan, which was bonkers. I mean, just 50 yards on a line across the field, switching into the box. Spectacular assist. And then the other part you have to factor in is the fact that the ball doesn't hit the net. It goes far post to back support to near post and out. Never touches the net. So it's one of those things where, like, I've held this belief in my head for so long of it's Oba San Jose, it's Oba San Jose, it's Oba San Jose. And I've held this in my head for years. And whenever, in life, anything, challenges your belief system, you kind of got to really look at the facts and look at it objectively. And the more I look at Pedro's goal objectively, the more I kind of keep thinking to myself, I don't think anybody could replicate what Pedro did maybe ever again. You might be able to replicate Oba because it's just simply running on and flicking it over a goalkeeper. It's spectacular. It's crazy. It's like, oh my God, what the hell? But I think Pedro's is objectively more difficult, and I might be changing my mindset. I mean, the statistics don't lie. 44% of fans say it's Pedro. And that's not just recency bias. That's some pretty insane statistics.
I guess my question is, and we're going to stay on Pedro because I've been crying for him to play more all season long. What took so long for him to get on that side? What took so long for this adjustment?
Well, that's a good question. I think there's a few things. First up, it's the fact that you had a really good Paul Rothrock, I think, locking down that spot. And Rothrock's been good. He's been such a good contributor. You brought in Ryan Kent, and Ryan Kent, when he first got here, was awesome. He was looking great there on that left side. He's since tailed off a bit. So there's these things that have sort of gotten in the way of him having to, be on that spot. But I think, with other pieces moving around, it's sort of like, all right, well, we need to, Jesus Ferreira has now established himself on the right wing. We can't just not play Pedro de la Vega because Jesus has established himself there. Let's get him a spot. And, sometimes in sports, you guys know, it takes just one chance, one opportunity, one little change, fresh perspective, and everything shifts. And I think it was one of those things where it was in the mindset so deeply for so long of Pedro's a right winger. He's a right winger. He's a right winger. And let's throw him out there. And he's played on the wing at Lanús in Argentina. He's played on there before. Let's just see if he can recapture some of that magic. And, I think to a surprise from a lot of people, he did capture that magic.
Well, and you mentioned how, at the start of the interview, how the entire team really is contributing. One of those guys has been Nuhu. You mentioned him, and Schmetzer mentioning that he's been playing better since, that red card suspension in Kansas City, and Schmetzer sort of calling him out. What have you seen from Nuhu in those matches recently and in Leagues Cup?
Well, you look at the Atlanta match, it's the assist at the end to Osaze de Rosario. That goal was a great assist, and he actually put in an excellent ball into the box moments before that actual assist to Osaze. You can go to a bunch of on-field moments. He's continuing to be good defensively. Let me point you, Ethan, to a moment that he had in this last game against Santos Laguna. So Georgie Manungu gets a second yellow card for lifting his jersey up. You can't do that. And he gets a second yellow card for doing that after he scores the goal against Santos. And after he does that, Nuhu comes rushing over to him and says, "No, you can't do that. You can't do that. Osaze just, got a yellow on Thursday for doing that. You can't do that. You're going to get a yellow." And Nuhu's that leadership aspect. And Brian's wanted that leadership out of Nuhu now. He's the fourth most tenured sounder. We need some more leadership out of Nuhu. And in that moment, yes, it was a second too late. Sure. But still, the leadership to go to the kid and say, "Georgie, can't do that." That shows a leadership growth on Nuhu's side. And I think it shows a maturity. I think it shows a focus. And I think we're seeing not only on the field, there's a lot of different instances defensively you could point out, but that leadership, I think we're seeing a Nuhu who got the message after what happened against Kansas City, and he's come back playing better.
Now, where do the Sounders go from here? They're obviously trending upward. What's next for the Sounders?
What's next for them is getting through this first round of Leagues Cup. Let's get a result. I mean, it could take, I believe, if you get to penalty kicks, just tie the game through 90 minutes against Club Tijuana, you're likely through. But if you win penalty kicks, you're for sure through. And if you win the game outright, you are 100% through. So let's get through this. Let's get to the quarterfinals of Leagues Cup, and then we resume that in 2 weeks. Then it's MLS action. It's Sunday against Los Angeles, against the Galaxy. We're going to have the game 7 p.m. I have the play-by-play call on 93.3 KJR FM. And I think that game is going to be very important for the team to kind of just jump right back into MLS action and say, all right, there's Leagues Cup. We'll see you again. But and now see in this game against Club Tijuana as well, set ourselves up to have a good team on the field. I want to see healthy. I want to see fitness high. I want to see a team who's driven against a Galaxy team that they were terrible. I mean, guys, this was a trash LA team for more than half the season. But suddenly they're playing way better soccer in the last month and a half or so. This is a different Galaxy team. They're a revitalized Galaxy team. They're hosting the Sounders, and Seattle cannot just take them lightly like they are the team they were 3-4 months ago. This is a better Galaxy team, so we for sure have to play them better. They're a little bit healthier. Gabriel Peck is a great talent. Joseph Paintsel. They have a new forward in the squad as well. They're a good team, and I don't think that you can just look at them in bottom of the Western Conference and say, oh yeah, that's 3 points. They're bottom of the West. They're better than bottom of the West in the last month. So it's about keeping the heads about you and not taking what is, I think, a decent Galaxy team lightly.
Well, I'm glad you brought up MLS play because, Leagues Cup is really fun. It's cool to see how the Sounders stack up against Liga MX. But what matters, at least to me, is MLS play and lifting that MLS Cup. The Sounders are looking to lock up one of those top 4 seeds to get, home field advantage in that first round. As we move closer to the playoffs starting, how close do you think Brian Schmetzer is to figuring out who his first 11 is? We've been talking about it, so many contributions throughout this entire team with just the depth that they have.
Even I think we have it. I think we have the best 11, and I think we've seen it in the sense of right now you have Danny Mazowski at the forward spot. When Jordan Morris is healthy, in whether that's 2 months, I don't know how many weeks it is, but regardless, when Jordan Morris is healthy, that's his spot. But then you have Pedro on the left. I think it's undeniable so far what we've seen from Pedro. And, Rothrock is going to contend and Rothrock's going to push him. But at this moment, I think it's Pedro. You have Jesus on the right, Albert Rusnak, probably your team MVP again right now. The numbers are undeniable. Again in the middle. Your double pivot is Christian and Obed. They've been tremendous. Nuhu on the left, Alex Rodon on the right, Yamar and Jackson, and Steph's in goal when he's healthy. Andrew Thomas still in there right now. So that is the 11. Of course, the whole element is you're going to have Leagues Cup giving you, potentially midweek games if you make it through the quarterfinals. So you are going to have to continue to see rotation, continue to see, managing minutes, and go from there.
I'm going to push back on a little bit on you, Jackson, on the once Jordan Morris comes back and he's right back into the lineup. I disagree with that. Danny has been a better player this year. You can't help the club in the tub. Jordan Morris cannot stay healthy. I know he's an all-time great sounder, so everybody want to give him that position. But is he one of the best 11 once he comes back?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it's also, DJ, I'll also factor in this. It's how they play. Danny Mazowski's getting the goals this year for sure. He's getting, whether it's tap-ins, headers, he's able to get in front of goal and make things happen. And that's impressive. He is getting the statistics. I'm going to point out how they play with Jordan, because Jordan can stretch a line. He can stretch the back team. He can pull center backs. He can pull other defenders. His speed and his running ability in behind changes the way that this team can work.
All right. Well, I think the Sounders team, regardless, is better with a Jordan Morris in the fold and having a Danny Mazowski behind him contributing. I think that just only plays to the depth of this squad. Jackson, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Catch him on Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM on the pre- and post-match shows for Sounders FC matches. So, Jackson, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, we're back. Big thanks to Jackson, as always. Fun conversation talking Sounders. Very fun team to talk about right now. You've got the 7-0 win over Cruz Azul. They beat Santos 2-1. They got Tijuana tomorrow at the time of this recording. Just a draw, and they should be through just the 1 point. The Sounders are just on top goal differential-wise, so they should be through. And then you've got midweek games coming in mid-August for the rest of Leagues Cup after you start MLS Cup.
Let me throw a wrench in the plan, Ethan. I want to ask you this. Who is more likely to bring home a championship? The Sounders, the Storm, or the Mariners?
Well, if we're doing a start cut or a start bench ferry, the Storm they're out of there.
Are you sending them on the ferry?
Yeah, we're sending them on the ferry.
Where are you sending them to Bainbridge? Where?
I don't think Bainbridge is far enough in this conversation at the moment. I love the Storm, and it's been awesome to cover them, but I just don't think they can compete with the top echelon of the league. And we're going to talk about them. They did make a trade today that we are going to discuss. To me, it comes down to the Mariners and the Sounders. And, DJ, that's a really good question. Putting me on the spot, I'm going to go with the Sounders.
Okay.
Just because I think the baseball postseason, I think it's a lot harder of a competition to win. I think the Sounders are playing their best soccer right now. The Mariners did it for a series against the Rangers. I still want to see them do it a little bit more. And we did talk about how we think Logan Gilbert's going to turn it around. I want to see that for I want to see him do it for a consistent stretch, just because it's been such a weird year for him. With the full ramp up in spring training and starting the year, and then going down with the injury, I want to see that from him. I think without a full form Logan Gilbert, it's hard for me to put them above the Sounders. But what do you think?
I'm going with the Mariners.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going with the Mariners. This is just a different year. It feels different. If you're a superstitious person, or you one of them that goes with your gut feeling, this is a special year for the Mariners, because the pitching was supposed to be the strength of this team, and they haven't lived up to the hype. But the bats and the moves that the Mariners made is totally abnormal. It's not what they usually do. So this is the type of year that the Mariners would win the championship, maybe a pennant. So I'm going with the Mariners all the way. I would love to see the Sounders win the championship also, and I think the Storm do have what it takes. But if you had to, if I start bench Ferry, I'm starting the Mariners, I'm benching the Sounders, and yes, I'm sending my Storm on a ferry, but they only going to West Seattle. I'm not sending them too far away because I think they have what it takes also.
Just a little commuter ferry.
Yes,
just a little commuter ferry.
Just a water taxi.
Yeah. Well, you brought up the Storm. Let's just go right to them.
Yes.
They made the trade this morning, right before we started recording, for Brittany Sykes from the Washington Mystics, averaging 15 points a game. She is 2 second-team all-defensive honors and 2 first-team all-defensive honors. So the Storm 3rd in the league in opponents' points per game. Their good defense gets even better. They're sending Alicia Clark, a first-round pick, and Zaya Cook, who's getting waived by the Mystics, over to Washington. What do you make of the trade?
You know what? First of all, I love the moves because they're being proactive. And I think although they're one of the better defensive teams, the games I've watched, not so much. I think they can use help on the wing on defense, and I think also they can use help in the post on defense with Magbagor and Agumake down there. I haven't been impressed with their defense at all. So I like the moves, definitely. I hate to see a veteran like Alicia Clark go. She was a fan favorite when she won the championships here before. She came back. She couldn't find her form as a veteran, but I hate to see her go. But welcome Brittany Sykes, and I love the way the Storm are going for it, just like the Mariners did.
Yeah, so it deepens this team a little bit, and how much have we been talking about a lack of depth really hurting this team? You know, that starting 5 is playing a lot of minutes.
Yes.
It was 3 or 4 in the top 20 in the entire league in minutes played this season. Neck is tired, Skylar's tired, Gabby's tired. I think Ezzy's a little worn down. Erica Wheeler never wears down.
Right.
She just keeps going. But you add a Brittany Sykes, which, if you probably going to move Erica Wheeler back into that 6-player role, which I think she's going to thrive in. And
yes.
She's been playing really some of her best basketball. Really, it just adds a little bit more depth. And you trade 2 pieces in Alicia Clark and Zaya Cook, who coming off the bench, you just weren't getting any production out of. So now you've got a Dominique Malonga and an Erica Wheeler coming off the bench. Are they still a little bit thin? Could they use a Jordan Horston, or those injuries that they sustained over the offseason still hurting? Absolutely. But it gets a little bit deeper to sort of provide a spark, like you mentioned with the Mariners, to the Storm team that's looking a little sluggish over the past couple of weeks.
Yes, and I think the key to this team is Skylar Diggins. I think she's the leader of this team and the key. And so it gives her less minutes to play with Sykes, and you bring in a Wheeler, a veteran that the coach can trust to handle those point guard duties. So you give her a little bit more rest, and I think she'll be more effective. Also, you're talking about, as far as the post players with Agumake and Magbagor, they need some rest also. I think you need to start giving Malonga a little bit more minutes, and let's see what she can do. She's shown she's an efficient player, and I think she can handle the load. So I like the way this lineup is shaping out and makes it longer, like you talked about, like we compared to the Mariners. When you add those 2 players, I think that it does the same thing for the Storm. It puts Wheeler back to a natural position as a 6th person or the 6th man. She will come in and back up Skylar at that point guard position, I believe. And Sykes, a defensive demon that can score points also. I like this lineup. And guess what? She's big. We talked about that at the beginning, 10 podcasts ago when we had Talisa Rea here. We talked about the size of this lineup. Brittany Sykes only adds to that. The league is getting bigger and better every year, and the Storm has a prototypical team with the size.
Well, and Brittany Sykes and Gabby Williams in the same starting 11 defensively.
Man.
Combine that with an Ezzy Magmagor. I mean, that's 3 all-defensive caliber players right there for the Storm. So hopefully they can turn it around after losing 2 in a row to the Fever and a tough double OT loss to the Los Angeles Sparks and Kelsey Plum. Let's move on. I want to talk Seahawks. I mean, how have we gotten this far into the episode without talking Seahawks?
Hey.
The preseason starts on Thursday, guys. I mean, I was talking to Curtis Crabtree, and he was like, I can't really get excited about football until I see football. Fair enough. we get to watch preseason football on Thursday. I'm just absolutely pumped up. And Pete Carroll's back in town.
Yes, Pete is back and Geno is back. So we have a connection there, and I can't wait to see what the Raiders are going to look like just as well as the Seahawks. So I expect the Seahawks to go out and dominate, but Coach Mike Macdonald already stated that he's not playing the starters. So what do you think about that?
Well, so it was reported this morning that Pete Carroll said that the starters were going to play. Ian Rappaport tweets out the whole statement, which is everyone's raring to go, everyone's a lot. Like, that's what people were reading into, that the starters were going to play. Having heard Pete Carroll for as long as he was here, that is not a definitive statement that the starters are going to play. That's you'll wait and see. So we don't know if the Raiders starters are going to play. Some will, probably. I don't think Geno's going to play. I don't have a problem with Mike Macdonald sitting all of the starters personally. I know you feel differently.
Yes.
But, you lose the preseason game. The starters are going to get their reps in this preseason. It's not like they're not going to play the entire preseason. With the new offensive scheme, I can understand people are antsy to see the starters run that offense. It signals to me that it's not worth the injury risk, which has to mean that they're pretty confident with how this offense is shaping up. But what do you feel about that, DJ?
Scared money don't make no money.
Yeah.
You can't play scared, especially in football, because stuff will happen. Injuries will happen. With Darnold, new quarterback, the only wide receiver returning is JSN, and he's in a new offense. You got a new offensive coordinator. We need to see this. Ken Walker is on the shelf with the ankle right now. We need to see this offense against live competition, if you ask me. I'm not saying you got to play him a whole half, a whole game, but 2 or 3 series to start off the game. I think this team needs to get together and play in this preseason game. I don't agree with the sitting the whole preseason or sitting the whole first game. I don't agree with this. This has been a trend like the last 5 years with the Rams making it kind of in vogue. I never agreed with that. You need to get hit. You need those live reps, and I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And, how much the starters play over the whole preseason. There's some interesting battles that we're going to see play out. You've got, unfortunately, Kenny McIntosh going down with the injury, so you've got Damian Martinez and George Holani fighting it out for that third running back spot. And I think people forget last preseason, George Holani, he made a statement. He was pushing Kenny McIntosh for that third running back position. He was really good in the preseason. And Damian Martinez, by all accounts, a very talented running back coming out of Oregon State and Miami in the 6th round, coming to the Seahawks. Also got that right guard battle. Anthony Bradford, Christian Haynes, Jalen Sundell now in that, Sato Lamea. Who's going to round out that Seahawks offensive line that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about throughout the season. And then Torrey Horton is also making waves in training camp with the plays that he's been making. 5th round wide receiver out of Colorado. He looks electric. Yes. I mean, I'm hoping that he can lock down that 5th wide receiver spot just so that we can keep him around to see how he grows as a player.
Yes, and Rick Woolen in yesterday's or Monday's press conference called him Jerry Rice Jr.
Yeah. High praise.
So he must
out of a starting cornerback as well.
Yes, and Rick Woolen is nothing to sneeze at. You're talking about a Pro Bowl cornerback.
Yep.
So, but let me go back to the preseason game and them not playing. You're charging the fans. Let's talk about the fans, because I wanted to bring back home field advantage, and I think this is part of it. You're charging the fans full price to see what, Seahawks? To see what? I mean, at least Darnold can get out there and play 1 or 2 series just to start the game. Not just preparing for the season, but to show the fans, hey, we want you to come back. Give us something to cheer about. So you're going to charge everybody full price, and then you're going to sit the starters? Like, come on now. You can do better than that.
I think I'm going to push back on that a little bit from the fan perspective, because I don't think Mike Macdonald gives a damn about putting his quarterback at risk just to satisfy some fans. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I just think it's so much more important than that. And what's going to get the fans back in the seats? Is it going to be Sam Darnold out for the year and you got to watch a full season of Drew Lock, or is it going to be them actually getting wins in the regular season? Is it going to be them beating the Niners at Lumen Field in week 1 and then going to Pittsburgh and kicking DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers' butts? Like, that's the stuff that matters. The preseason doesn't matter. And also the fans know The starters probably aren't going to play. I mean, it's the preseason. They know what they're buying.
And that's the problem right there, what you just said. The preseason doesn't matter. So why even have the games on the schedule then? Why even do the preseason? Just do training camp.
For the rest of the roster.
No, because you already shortened the rosters. Why even have the preseason? Nobody is making this team. It's probably 2 or 3 people that can make this team. This roster is pretty much set. It's not going to be somebody out of nowhere making this team. So why even have the preseason if you're not going to play the players? I don't agree with the preseason means nothing. No, it's to get you ready for the season. And we need to get ready for the season because Seahawks, I picked you to win 13 games, right? 13 games. I'm on your side. I'm in your corner. Make me look good.
The Seahawks starters not playing in the preseason will not impact how they play in the regular season. I just don't think
we talking about
it's
practice,
going to
man.
matter.
We talking about practice. We talking about practice.
The starters might be set, but the fringe positions on this team, they need to be battled out. That's what the results of the preseason do not matter. The Seahawks going out and beating the Raiders 50-0 in the first week of the preseason because they played their starters. That doesn't matter week 1 of the regular season. That's my point.
Yes.
It matters for getting ready for the season. The results don't matter. That's why it doesn't matter that the starters don't play. And you're going to see a lot of Jalen Milroe instead of Sam Darnold. That's going to be pretty exciting.
All right, but you talked about fringe players. I got a question for you.
Okay.
Start, bench, Ferry.
Oh, okay.
Now, we're talking about a battle at wide receiver. You talked about Torrey Horton, who is the talk of the camp right now. All right, Torrey Horton is in a battle with Derek Young and Bobo.
Yep.
So start, bench, Ferry. Bobo, Derek Young, Torrey Horton.
I'm going start Bobo. That's tough. Derek Young's awesome. I've been hearing a lot of great things about him, but I'm going bench Torrey Horton because of what I was hearing before that knee injury for Horton, he fell down the draft. He was a top 50 guy, probably a second-round pick, and you get him in the 5th round, and you're already seeing all the talent that he has and the special playability, sort of that X factor that you really like, D-Jack.
Yes, the twitchy athlete.
The twitchy athlete, yeah.
Yes.
So it's hard to. Derek Young does all the right things, the wide receiver position, blocks well, great special teamer. It's and he's valuable, but you can find Derek Young elsewhere. You can't find a Torrey Horton, a diamond in the rough like he could be. I don't even want to say Ferry. That feels disrespectful to Derek Young because I really don't want to see him lose.
Hey, it's start bench Ferry. Come on now.
Yeah, a little West Seattle commute, a little water taxi that you sent the Storm. Derek Young can go hang out with the Storm over in West Seattle. That's what I think. Respectfully, non-derogatory.
So you starting Horton?
I'm starting Bobo.
Starting Bobo?
I like Bobo's experience, and I feel like he's just a better version of Derek Young to where he's actually like making plays. The route running, out at training camp, watching him run routes is pretty cool to see because he's a big dude. He's like 6'4", but his routes are just so crisp, and he gets a lot of separation. So, if you need a big 3rd down catch, you need a guy to go in and do some dirty work blocking. Bobo's your guy. He's a grinder. He's a good. People love him around the locker room. So I'm going Bobo, then I'm going Horton. Then
a lot of people feel like Bobo might be the odd man out.
Yeah, it could be. It could. I would hate to see him cut. I think he brings a lot of value. But what do you think? Are you cutting Bobo?
You know what? I think I would start Horton just simply what I hear about him, and I love that kind of athlete, electric, and I think you can always use that kind of player. I would bench Bobo, and I think it's time to say goodbye to Derek Young. He would be on the ferry to Whidbey.
Yeah, Whidbey.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a derogatory ferry right
there. He's been here, 3-4 years? He hasn't been able to really crack the lineup yet. It's time to give somebody else a shot.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this before we wrap it up. Preseason, we're going to see a lot of Jalen Milroe.
Yes.
What are you most excited about? What are you expecting to see from the Seahawks 3rd-round pick?
I hope he's Milroe. I want to see you be Milroe. Be Jalen Milroe. Don't sit there back in the pocket trying to be Joe Montana. If you get into trouble, use your legs because that's what you're special. That would make you special. So use your gifts. I get so upset about when these quarterbacks, they come in, they use their legs, they're mobile quarterbacks, and then when people start to, criticize them, they say, well, he can't win from the pocket. And they sit there in the pocket and they become just another quarterback. No, use your gifts. Do what makes you special. Use your legs, Milroe. So that's what I want to see. I don't want to see you going through 15 progressions and trying to throw it and taking sacks. No, get out of trouble and go be special.
It's going to be fun. I think he's a special talent, and the preseason, especially against the 2s and 3s, we let Jalen Miller just run wild. I'm going to see, I love the angle that you're taking it. I'm going to see how he's throwing the ball, because he's not going to start for the Seattle Seahawks unless he can be an accurate passer, because the legs, he's always going to have that. But if he can't sit in the pocket and make plays, I'm not saying take sacks like you're talking about, but if he can't throw the ball accurately and find progressions and be on the timing with that and then deliver the ball accurately, he's not going to be the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks unless something goes crazy wrong.
Well, I mean, by all accounts, he's not going to be the starter for the next year or two. Mm-hmm. So they pretty committed to Sam Darnold, so he has a chance to develop. My point is just be special. That's it.
Yep.
Like, don't sit there trying to be somebody you're not. You use your legs. You're an uber athlete. You're probably the best athlete on the field. Any field that you step on, even in the NFL, use that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch Thursday. Football is back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Pete comes back. Now,
Thursday.
do you think Pete gets the crowd? Like, do you think he gets a cheer or a jeer?
He gets
what
a
do
cheer.
You think?
He will get the biggest cheer of all. I don't think there's anybody in this city, unless I'm talking to one, that holds any resentment against Pete Carroll for how that went down.
No, I love Pete,
I think he's one of the most beloved figures in the history of Seattle sports.
Yes, definitely deserves a statue outside. We're talking about statues. We said last week Ichiro deserves a statue. You definitely need to get that Pete Carroll statue going right now. Pick the artist, make sure it looks like him, though.
No Ronaldo statue or Dwayne Wade.
Look it up, y'all. You got to see it. But one more, Geno, does he get cheered or jeered?
That's a great question. It's going to be mixed, because even when Geno was here, and I thought he was better than the fan base made him out to be, and the national media, there were some people that really did not like Geno Smith and his play with the Seahawks. Mm-hmm. And then there's sort of, how it ended with John Schneider and the reports, and John Schneider saying that they never heard back from Geno after a contract offer was made. Geno took a page out of his own book.
He didn't write back. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like Geno, and I thought he was a class act while he was here. And the Seahawks are only in this position right now because of Geno bridging the gap from after Russell Wilson. So I think he deserves cheers. But I don't know how the rest of the fan base feels. That's a really good question. DK is probably going to get booed. I mean, if he came here, Seahawks fans going to Pittsburgh, I think him requesting out, that's a little bit different. Geno never officially requested out, so I think it's a little bit different.
Okay.
What do you think? Do you think he gets booed?
I hope not, because I love.
It would
Geno.
Suck. He did a lot of good things for this city.
I think Geno was a great quarterback for the Seahawks. He gets an unfair shake simply because they talk about some of the mistakes he made, and he was loose with the ball. Let's call it what it is. Mm-hmm. But Geno was a great, like you said, a bridge between Russell Wilson and now Sam Darnold. And it's ironic that Sam Darnold comes from the same organization, the Jets, that Geno did, and he's a similar journeyman. Now, I actually think Geno is a better quarterback, but, I mean, we'll see.
The age difference is definitely a thing. The Seahawks are getting 7 years younger at the position. I agree with you. I think Geno's going to play better this season, would play better with the Seahawks. That's 7 year difference. That's going to be ginormous. So, all right, that's going to do it for this episode of
all we got?
On the Sidelines. That's all we got.
All right.
That's all we got time for. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at On the Sidelines Podcast. I'm on X at EthanMCTV. X and Instagram, DJack the Photog, right?
DJack the Photog, baby. Go follow me.
DJack the Photog. Go follow us. And hit us up on Instagram. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what your Mariners, Sounders. A lot of excitement over here in the Seattle sports scene, and obviously the Seattle Seahawks. So go and let us know. For DJack Dante Jackson Feltz, appreciate him joining us. I'm Ethan McReynolds. We'll see you next time on the Sidelines.
Let's go!
On the Sidelines is available wherever you get your podcast.